Hello. Hello, mic check. Hello.
Hello, check. Hello. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Hello, check. Hello. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Hello.
Hello, check, check.
Hello, mic check. Hello, mic check. Hello. Hello. Lea. Huh? Hello, mic check. Hello. 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 ஹலோ ஹலோ கிளியர் இருக்கா?
Hello, check, check. Let us be seated. Respected dignitaries, honorable guests, esteemed officials and professors, dear students, pleasant morning to all of you. We welcome back to day 2 of our 3-day conference on Gen Z and the global future, fostering social responsibility in a connected world. Yesterday was packed with real conversations, fresh perspectives, and ideas that showed just how powerful Gen Z can be when it comes to shaping the future and taking social responsibility seriously. Today, we are diving even deeper, sharing new insights, asking better questions, and getting a clearer picture of what Gen Z stands for and what they can change. Because if we want a better future, understanding Gen Z isn't optional, it's essential. Prayer is not asking, it is a longing of the soul. It is daily admission of one's weakness. To begin the day on a spiritual note, I request everyone to stand for the prayer song. Let us be seated. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much, says Helen Keller. To formally welcome this distinguished gathering, I invite Reverend Dr. S. J. Bhaskaran SJ, Vice Principal, Anandar College, to deliver the welcome address.
Respected Reverend Father Anbarasu, the Principal, and my dear distinguished guests, Dr. Monica, Dr. Doris, and Larissa, and faculty members, my dear students, a very good morning to all of you. It gives me immense joy to welcome you all for the second day of the International Conference on the theme Gen Z and the Global Future, Fostering Social Responsibility in a Connected World. In a world shaped by rapid change and deep global interconnectedness, the future depends not only on innovation, but on social responsibility. Today, we gather at a moment when our collective choices will shape the direction of societies across borders and generations. At the center of this conversation stands Generation Z, a generation born into digital connectivity, yet deeply conscious of social justice, diversity, and global challenges. Gen Z invites us to rethink how education, social work, philosophy, and development can foster responsible global citizens. The theme of this international conference calls us to transform connectivity into compassion and knowledge into action. May this conference become a space for meaningful dialogue, shared learning, and collaborative vision for a just and inclusive global future. So with this spirit, I warmly welcome you all to this international conference. So my dear friends, it is a proud moment for all of us to extend a warm welcome to beloved Principal, Reverend Dr. Anbarasu, whose august presence adds great dignity and meaning to this international conference. So let us welcome our Principal, Dr. Anbarasu S.J. Welcome, Father. It is with great pleasure and honor that we all extend a warm and distinguished welcome to Dr. Monica, Faculty of Social Work, Catholic University, Eichstätt, Ingolstadt, Germany. We are deeply honored by your presence, Dr. Monica. Dr. Monica is a respected academician and a scholar in the field of social work, whose teaching, research, and international engagement reflect a profound commitment to social justice, intercultural understanding, and sustainable human development. Her academic contributions and the global perspective significantly enrich the intellectual depth of this international conference and strengthen our shared commitment to addressing contemporary social challenges through collaborative scholarship. And above all, Dr. Monica is a wonderful and a lovely person to relate with. I personally had the opportunity to stay in your house when I went to Germany in 2023. It was an unforgettable moment that I spent with Dr. Monica and her husband, Gerard. Dear Monica, we are truly honored to have you with us today for this conference. So hearty welcome, hearty welcome. And I also extend a special and cordial welcome to Ms. Larissa Nathael, a research scholar of Dr. Monica. Her scholarly engagement represents the vibrant voice of emerging researchers in global social work discourse. So I am pleased to note her research on the presentation on the timely and relevant topic. Both Dr. Monica and Larissa will be presenting their presentation on cross-cultural youth in smart social work, achieving worldwide sustainable development goals. So on this great occasion, I also extend a warm welcome to Larissa Nathael. Welcome, Larissa. Yeah. And we have another distinguished person among us. It is nothing but Dr. Doris from the University of Switzerland. She teaches social work in Eastern Switzerland University of Applied Sciences at St. Gallen. Dr. Doris is a distinguished academic whose teaching and research focus on contemporary social practices across the life course, with a particular attention to children, youth, and emerging social realities. Her scholarly work contributes meaningfully to international debates on inclusion, diversity, and responsible social work methodologies. I am very much pleased to highlight her presentation on the thought-provoking topic, Gen Z and social work, diversity-oriented approaches in open child and youth work. This theme is both timely and significant as it addresses the evolving identities, aspirations, and challenges of Generation Z, calling for inclusive, participatory, and culturally sensitive approaches within social work practices. Her insights will undoubtedly offer valuable perspectives for academics, practitioners, and policymakers alike. So I sincerely thank Dr. Doris for sharing her expertise, for enriching this international conference with her global experience and academic wisdom. So on behalf of all of us, I extend a very, very warm welcome to Dr. Doris and wish her a meaningful and exchanging interaction during this conference. Welcome, madam. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to our esteemed faculty members and dear students from the Department of Rural Development Science and Philosophy. And there are also students from other colleges. I welcome you all. And a few informations about the Department of Rural Development for our guests who have some picture about RDS and philosophy. The Department of Rural Development Science, with its deep engagement in grassroots realities, sustainable livelihoods, and community empowerment, reminds us that meaningful development begins with the people and participation. The Department of Philosophy, through its rigorous pursuit of wisdom, ethics, and critical reflection, provides the moral and intellectual foundations essential for responsible scholarship and social transformations. So my dear students, your active presence at this international conference beautifully symbolizes the meeting of practice and principle, action and reflection, enriching our academic dialogue and collective learning. We are confident that your participation will add depth, insight, and youthful energy to the deliberations of this conference. I warmly welcome you all and wish you a stimulating, enriching, and memorable academic experience. And I also extend my sincere welcome and greetings to everyone present here today and joining us virtually, our dear students, research scholars, faculty members, and academic delegates who are participating both on-site and online. I also gratefully acknowledge the administrative, technical, and supportive staff whose dedicated efforts behind the scenes have made this international conference possible. Your commitment and silence service are deeply appreciated. So once again, I warmly welcome you all and wish you all a meaningful, enriching, and inspiring conference experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your gracious welcome. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire, says William Butler Yeats. I now request Reverend Father Principal, Dr. M. Anbarase S.J., to present the felicitation address.
dear guest speakers, Monica, Loris, and Doris from Germany and Switzerland, and my dear fathers. Here is a stalwart father. He was a former principal here in our college, and he has been working in our RDS department for more than 30 years, Father Pushparaj. And my dear colleagues and my dear students, once again, good morning and warm welcome to you all to this international 3-day seminar, and especially for today. There are some students from American college, a neighboring college from the town. They are all social work students, students of sociology. And many of our students are, as Father Bhaskar was explaining, from sociology. Partly they study sociology and other subjects like agriculture and animal husbandry, botany, zoology. And there are some good number of young men studying philosophy department. We are all eagerly waiting to know from you how the scenario in other countries. We more or less come to know that what is our Gen Z in India, particularly Tamil Nadu, but we are all grappling with the same problem of understanding. They also do not understand us, and we also do not understand equally. Even there are some students who are not able to understand their parents. Parents' expectation is totally different, and the students' expectation or students' mindset is different. So this is a problem, current problem, which we are really struggling, and it's this is the situation globally. Yesterday, we had a paper from Tanzania, our own old student of philosophy who is teaching in Tanzania University. He has also given a presentation how religious practices can help our Gen Z for their mental health and social responsibility. And there was another paper from Maldives also. So we have been struggling, and really I'm happy today we have amidst us 3 stalwarts, 2 stalwarts and 1 budding researcher from Germany and Switzerland, and their presence will enlighten us more in this field of Gen Z and fostering social responsibility of our Gen Z. With these words, I really gratefully acknowledge your presence here in our college. It's not very easy for you people to come all the way from for a particular cause and have a deviation. Already you have come only for Gandhigram University, and it's because of our familiarity that our Father Bhaskar having with you, we are able to have you. I really gratefully remember Father Bhaskar and the risk that you have taken to travel to our city, Madurai, and India. I am really happy and grateful to you. And with these words, we shall go to the point and we shall listen to them, how the Gen Z generation is there in other countries and how they are fostering this social responsibility amidst us. So thank you. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Father, for your insightful words. It's time to honor our guest speakers. I now invite Reverend Dr. Sister C. Mary Laurentia, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to honor Dr. Monica Bifoler-Roth with a shawl. I request Reverend Father Principal to present her a memento. I request Dr. Pandishwari, Head Department of RDS, to to honor Dr. Doris Bowler, University Lecturer for Social Work, Switzerland. I request Reverend Father Vice Principal to present her a memento. I now invite Mrs. S. Jagadishwari, Assistant Professor, Department of Tamil, to honor Ms. Larissa Nathalie with a shawl. I request Dr. Gilbert Rani, Dean IQAC, to present her a memento. Thank you, dear dignitaries. Youth is not a time of life. It is a state of mind, says Samuel Willman. So right now we are moving on to a technical session. I now hand over the session to the moderator, Dr. M. Sonia, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics.
Respected dignitaries, respected fathers, honorable guests, my dear faculty members and participants. Very good morning to one and all present here. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to today's technical session. I shall begin by briefly setting the context for this session on cross-cultural youth in smart social work, achieving worldwide sustainable development goals, a theme that resonates deeply with the ethos, energy, and transformative potential of Gen Z. Yeah, Gen Z, the most powerful force of this era. Actually, in my perspective, Gen Z, they doesn't need to explore, they actually into it. Yeah, Gen Z, they are digitally native, globally interconnected, and deeply committed to social transformation. Their ability to collaborate across cultures and harness technology for social impact positions them at the forefront of advancing the sustainable development goals worldwide. They are not merely responding to change, they are actively shaping it. In this context, studying and understanding Gen Z has become the need of the hour. As powerful change makers, they embody immense potential for innovation, inclusivity, and social responsibility, while also presenting new challenges that call for thoughtful engagement, ethical reflection, and informed social work interventions. So this session seeks to deepen our understanding of how cross-cultural engagement and technology-driven social work practices can meaningfully contribute to the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals across diverse global contexts. So we'll look forward to a thoughtful, provoking, and enriching session. Without a further ado, I now have the honor of introducing our distinguished speaker. It is my distinct honor to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Monica Fowler-Roth, a scholar with extensive expertise in social development, intercultural education, and youth engagement. Actually, her CV speaks of decades of excellence and achievements. So in interest of time, I'm just highlighting only a snapshot of her illustrious career. Dr. Monica Fowler serves as an academic counselor at the Faculty of Social Work at Catholic University of Eichstätt, Ingolstadt, Germany, where she has been actively engaged in teaching and research since 2008. She holds a doctorate in philosophy and education and brings with her rich academic and professional experience spanning social work, pedagogy, intercultural education, and social service management. Dr. Monica's Primary areas of teaching and research include international and intercultural social work, indigenous knowledge systems, development cooperation, comparative social work, and management skills in social work. She has delivered keynote addresses and conference presentations across Europe, Asia, and Latin America, and has been actively involved in numerous transnational research collaborations. She has authored and edited approximately 65 scholarly publications, including books, journals, articles, and book chapters, and has led or contributed to 9 major international research projects. So it is indeed a privilege to welcome a resourceful academic voice into its vibrant and resourceful arena. Welcome you, ma'am. I also take this opportunity to introduce Ms. Larissa, a research scholar working under the guidance of Dr. Monika Fahler-Roth at the Catholic University of Eichstätt, Ingolstadt in Germany. So Ms. Larissa has completed her master's degree in social work and is currently pursuing an interdisciplinary master program with a major in philosophy and minor in sociology. So her academic interest includes metaphysics, philosophy of music, and indigenous ethics, which she explores through philosophical and aesthetic lenses. Alongside her academic pursuits, she is actively engaged in debt and in insolvency counseling. So I extend a warm welcome and to both our speakers. Now the forum is yours, ma'am.
1 minute, please. Now it works. Oh, no, it's no. No. No, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to speak to you today together with my research assistant Larissa. I would like to take my opportunity to express my thanks to the university, to the Department of Social Work, and to Bhaskaran for this perfect organization of this conference. But first of all, I want to show you some slides about the Catholic University of Eichstätt-Ingolstadt. It's the only Catholic university in Germany. We have many universities of applied science, but we have only one university, Catholic University in Germany. And that's around about 5,000 students, and a very typical position in our university is that we have 350 foreign students from all over the world, and we have two campuses in Eichstätt and in Ingolstadt. Ingolstadt is built the car, Audi car. And because of this, the economic faculty is in Ingolstadt. We have 120 professors at our university, and here you can see which faculties we have. We have theology, we have history and social subjects, social work, mathematics, geography, because we have many education of teachers. And when you know Germany, some of you know that we have a southern part of Germany, what is called Bavarian, that is next to Munich. You can find our university, and since 1564, in our place we have a college of theology and philosophy because of the Jesuits. The Jesuits are in our country. And since 1980, we are a Catholic university. We have the status of this. Here you can find some pictures of our university. That's really very lovely houses, very old houses. They haven't been disturbed in the Second War. And we have also a very nice castle, and in this castle you can find the first bird. The first bird we have ever seen in our planet, it's a fossil. It is a fossil and it is called Archaeopteryx. It's very important for the Darwin discussion. This time, yesterday we have had 10 degrees minus. And because of this we have much snow, we can skiing and so on. But if you want to come to Germany, take the summertime. Summertime is very lovely. Ask Baskaran. And we have really many, many books. It's around about 2 million in different places. The most is social science, human designs. Yeah, and today I want to talk about this topic. First of all, I want to talk about the Global Youth Agency within the 2030 Agency of Sustainable Development. Then we want to talk about cross-cultural youth as a resource. And second would be the smart social work and digital transformation. Then the youth leadership, social impact of the local sustainable development goals practice, and at large synthesis, implications for research, and so on. Let's talk about the Global Youth Agency. And first of all, there is the opinion you know about the goals. It's not necessary to talk about it, but I have a very lovely picture. There is a need for integrated handling of dimensions of sustainable development in the economic, social, and environmental. But what about the involvement of young people in this process? Based on Sherry's Armstrong's 8 level of young people's participation, the participation letter, you can see, we see 68% non-participants and only 27% decrease of participation with young people. The missing 5% in the participation pyramid doesn't represent marginalization, but rather strategic token participation. These are partially institutionalized young committees, such as German National Young Council of SDGs, which are formally established but have no decision-making power. The GAGA Young Governments Index 2023 shows 100% of these bodies have 3 systemic deficits. Ministries can ignore recommendation as documented in 78% of European Union climatic bill drafts in 2023. Young people go through participation rituals but recognize their symbolic nature. A study by the Free University of Berlin shows their political trust in such bodies declines by 42%. This 5% is therefore not progress, but institutionalized hypocrisy, a toxic mechanism that systematically undermines genuine youth agency. But let's look to participation of people who are in contact with social work. What about participation of young people, of cross-cultural people? To this, we are looking for approaches to social work in the capability approach, guidance structuration theory, and the post-colonial perspective. The capability approach, that's the key, shifts the focus from poor capacity to act to people actual opportunities for fulfillment. It is not just a question of whether someone could do something, but whether he or she has the actual opportunity to lead a life that he or she considers valuable. The approach emphasizes the importance of sustainability, freedom embedded in the cultural context. The example of this is the risk that SDG 4.7, Education for Sustainable Development, will fail. If indigenous languages are excluded from school careers, this deprives a particular group of the opportunity to preserve their culture and develop in a way that is meaningful to them. It shows that leave no one behind must not be an empty phrase, but must actively take into account the specific needs and context of different groups. For young people in the Global South in particular, opportunities for fulfillment often means more than just formal participation. It is about creating real opportunities for self-determination. Looking to guidance structuration theory, yin and yang, emphasizes the reciprocal relationship between human action and social structures. Action shapes structures, and structures limited and enable action. This dialectic is evident, for example, in movements such as Fridays for Future, which makes use of existing UN routines and thus influence structures, but at the same time can be restricted in their scope for action by National Assembly law. Fridays for Future is an organization in Germany. The young people have had a strike every Friday because of the climatic change. They don't go to school for many Fridays. They strike in over 200 places in Germany. One problem of the so-called symbolic participation is people are invited to submit to give the impressions of inclusivity, but without having any actual voting rights or influence. It is therefore important to recognize that participation is not only a question of presence, but also the actual power. When we are looking to the post-colonial perspective, the world calls for a decolonization of knowledge. It criticizes the dominance of Eurocentric perspective and marginalization of local knowledge. And this is also a very important example to use the North-centric Sustainable Development Goal indicators, such as PISA tests, which evaluate local knowledge and create what Spivak calls a subalternal discourse. The cultural diversity in Germany, only a few sentences about it. The population in Germany has become heterogeneous as a result of international immigration in the year 2015. There get many people to our country, and we are living in a culturally diverse society. The Miracle census says we have 30%. That means 1 in 3 people has migration background. For your country, it's not very surprise, but when in the year when I was born, less than 4% of the people had migration background, and they're coming from Turkish. 15%, 13% Russian, 10% Arabic, and so on. Then we have 24% Roman Catholic, 22% Protestant, 4% Muslim. And When we talk about transnational social spaces, we primarily mean social networks, relations, and activities that exist across national borders. As discussed, our German society is currently characterized by diaspora relation, a group of people who live in Germany but still have economic or emotional bonding to their home country. In addition, numerous cross-border networks have formed, ranging from family and economic network to religious scientific networks loading by hybrid spaces and social interventions. Because of the time, I only can talk about some points. This results is not longer purely separate cultures, but rather spaces, the third space in which identity is dynamic and transformative. The rigid categories of us and them dissolve. This gives rise to new identities that are created in a third place. Thus, there is no such thing as cultural plurality. And through this hybrid identity in this corresponding third spaces, spaces where two cultures or identities are meant, as is a case in this conference today, something new emerges when we view this diversity as a resource. And when we talk about cross-border network, it, in conjunction with hybrid identities, require digital solutions for better communication in order to communicate efficiently with one another. To focus on inclusive practice, for example, equal participation regardless of origin, gender, disability, age, language, religion, or social background is the cornerstone of successful social intervention. Intercultural skills are in smart social work. It is also the situation to do this. We need intercultural skills, for example, ability to work, reflectivity, effectivity with people from different cultural backgrounds, and in this basic for social work in pluralistic and transnational societies. The key competencies include self-reflection, it includes cultural knowledge, understanding of different living environments, migration, refugees experience, communication skills, sensitive use of language, non-verbal communication, and misunderstandings. The attitude, openness, respect, recognition of diversity, power relations, and many other things. And when we talk about smart social works, there are necessary another competences for this part. How long is it? Oh, okay. The following is relevant. The local ceiling, the Sustainable Development Goals means transferring the United Nations Global Sustainability Goals to the local level. For examples, to cities, municipalities, schools, youth centers, or associations. The aim is to make the Sustainable Development Goals concrete, implementable, and relevant for everyday life. Young people are key players in Sustainable Development Goals localization because they are directly affected by sustainable development, contribute new perspectives, creativity, and innovative strengths, and act as multiplayers in schools, communities, and digital spaces. Young participation in local communities, children's parliamentarians have excited in Germany since 1980. According to recent studies, more than 500 children and youth parliaments and approximately 300 youth forums in Germany shows controversial results, especially with regard to the smart social work. Looking to the educational projects, SDG 4, and engagement and volunteering, workshops on sustainable development goals and global citizenship, education, SDG, and so on. The digital participation is necessary for use of social media, apps, platforms, and co-creation smart youth work. And however, the prerequisites for successful localization with young people are generative participation rather than symbolic involvement, easy access, including for disadvantaged young people, interculturality, sensibility in diversity, awareness, supportive structure through politics, social work, and educational institution. For social work, sustainable development location with young people means promoting empowerment and democratic competence, connecting global goals with local living environments, and so on. Because of the time, I think I will weiter. The theory of cooperation says this examines how and why actors work together to achieve common goals and under what condition cooperation is successful. The central assumption is that complex social problems such as sustainable development cannot be solved by individual actors alone. For example, when you look to Fridays for Future, that shows this through local demonstrations by Fridays for Futures of one side, but also the transnational level, the international cooperation. It has been a worldwide program. We social workers are called upon the creativity implement key elements of cooperation theory together with young people, common goals and shared values, trust and reliability, communication and transparency, resource sharing, sharing knowledge, sharing time, sharing networks, sharing money. The latter requires cooperation between politics, administration, civil society, business, education, and youth. Then we are also assisted by the GCED, the Global Citizen Education Globalism Theory, which emphasizes global responsibility, solidarity, and transnational cooperation, often in connection with education and social transformation. It's an education concept joined by the UNESCO and aims to empower people, especially young people, to see themselves as active, responsible members of a globally interconnected world and act accordingly. Knowledge of global issues are inequality, climatic, human rights. The values are attitudes such as solidarity, justice, and peace. The action skill for social engagement. The role of the young people is through GCED, young people become informed actors of sustainable development, critical thinkers who question global power relations and inequalities, change agents who initiate local and global sustainable development projects. This can be demonstrated through various forms and practice, for example, practice-based learning on SDGs, climatic protection, social justice, and so on. Let's talk about social work and digital transformation. I think you have many knowledge about it, and because of this, only a few sentences. The digital transformation in the social work are systematically integrated into social work practices, structure, services, and so on, in order to make social work efficient, participatory, participatory, and need-based. It is not just about technologies, but also about changes, working methods, rules, organization, and interaction. And this is also very important to have a global side of it, promotion of participation, empowerment, and networking, and supporting innovative social projects all over the world. The challenge must be discussed about the indigenous inequality, digital divide, and data protection and ethical issues relating on sensitive data. That's a big problem in our country. Which is evident of digitization. This concept of networking is also part of social work. And because of this, we are talking about networked social work, network theories, collective importance, and so on. Let's talk about the participatory design from theory to practical social SDGs locations. As we saw at the beginning, the participation ladder, youth participation plays a major role in the implication of sustainable development goals, and there are participation theories that understand participation, active involvement, co-determination, co-creation, not just poor information, but as genuine participation on decision-making process. In these preliminary stages of participation, according to Rieger and Strasburger, the opinion and view of a target group are taken into account, the opinion and the view. But participation is dependent on goodwill of the professionals and therefore not genuine participation. In genuine participation, on the other hand, addresses to the right of co-determination. Co-determination must therefore be permeated by allowed access to vote on decision and influence them. The digital empowerment, I think you also know many things, means that young people acquire digital skills, access tools, and to act independently, inform themselves, participative, implemented social projects, and so on. Because of the time, I would talk about the next point that will Larissa made.
So, good morning to you all. I will go on with the philosophical part. We live in a time when algorithms quietly influence our daily lives, from recommendations on social media to decisions in social work with young people. Imagine an algorithm assessing whether a young person needs support. Is that fair, or is there injustice hidden in the data? Algorithm justice means exactly that, developing systems that make judgments without prejudice based on gender, ethnicity, origin, or social status. Philosophically speaking, this is reminiscent of Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative: act in such a way that the maxim of your will could always be valid as the principle of universal legislation. Every decision must be universally valid, treating people as ends in themselves, not mere numbers. In reality, however, IE tools in youth welfare run the risk of perpetuating social inequalities. Training data derived from historically discriminatory sources often evaluate minorities more harshly, for example, in risk predictions for criminality or school dropouts. This creates a utilitarian dilemma according to Bentham and Mill: the greatest amount of happiness for the majority at the expense of the dignity of the few. This is exacerbated in cross-cultural contexts. Algorithms must learn cultural nuances in order to truly advance the SDG, such as number 10, reducing inequalities. Let's dive deeper into the data ethics, the moral heart of the digital social work. Data ethics goes far beyond technical standards. It is a question of autonomy and responsibility. John Rawls' veil of ignorance challenges us. If we were to design institutions without knowing whether we belong to the rich or the poor, true fairness would emerge. In practice, for youth apps, this means that consent must not be a fleeting tick of a box, but a genuine dialogical process. Take a teenager from a migrant family. He shares sensitive data about fears, traumas, or family conflicts, only to feel how the algorithm exploits this paternalistic without him being able to understand the logic behind it. This violates Jürgen Habermas' discourse ethics, which is based on symmetrical communication. Every man must be able to participate, and power imbalances must be corrected. Add Michael Foucault's critique, data streams as modern instrument of power. Who collects, analyzes, and decides? Digital governments in smart social work must be participatory, incorporate cultural sensitivity, and create transparency, for example, through explainability, for example, AI. This is how we protect vulnerable groups, avoid surveillance, and build genuine trust. Let's move on to the last part, to the impact measurement, the pulse of every intervention. Here, quantification merges with philosophical reflection. It is not enough to quantify successes. We must ask whether they are good or not. Aristotle's virtue ethic helps. Is the measure balanced? Does it promote eudaimonia, a good life for all? In cross-cultural youth programs, we track progress on SDGs such as number 4, quality education, number 5, gender equality, and number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, but always with a critical eye for bias. Youth-led scorecards are a powerful tool. Young people themselves define indicators, measure inclusion, empowerment, and sustainability, and discovers inequalities in the same way that virtues are contrasted with vices. Imagine an app evaluate workshops in diverse cultures. Does it do justice to minorities, or does it reinforce dominance? Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialism fits perfectly here. Freedom comes from conscious choice. Data serves emancipation, not control. This is how local realities are linked to global goals, making SDGs tangible and ethical sound. Smart social work combines all of this. Data-driven social work that ethically integrates AI as a servant of humanity, never as a ruler. Young people from diverse cultures around the world measures impact themselves, collectively combat biases, and live data ethics as a space of freedom. Local interventions scale up to universal success. SDGs become reality. Philosophically distilled, technology must serve humanity, weaving justice and sustainability.
Let's talk about youth leadership, social impact, and social SDGs practice. Only a few sentences about it. Oh, it doesn't work, sorry about it. Ich komme mit der Maus nicht mehr rüber. Komme ich nicht mehr.
Warte mal.
Scheiße.
Wo ist denn deine Maus? Du mal einstecken? Jetzt.
Super, danke dir. Sustainability, the synthesis of implications for research, policy and practice in youth social work, sustainable tradition, sustainable transition, to sustainable structures. The topic present calls for a sustainability tradition. It means the systematic transformation of exciting structures, practices, and processes to the economically, socially, and economically sustainable solutions. Sustainability transformation means that social work and youth projects are designed in a systematic, participatory, and innovative way in order to create lasting sustainable structures and implement the SDGs locally and globally. Cross-sector cooperation is important there. For example, the targeted collaboration of various social actors to solve complex social problems more effectively. That combines the resources, skills, and perspectives of the public sector, the state, civil society organizations, NGOs, association initiatives, and the economy campaigns, social enterprises. The cross-sectoral cooperation means that the state, civil society, and the business sector work together on social projects, share goals and strategies, pool their strengths, pooling of resources and expertise, the cerebrally development sustainable systematic solution to social challenges and SDGs implementation. So when we focus on social innovation by hybrid spaces in this lecture, we are talking about new ideas, practices, and so on that solve social problems better than existing approaches. In this context, we would like to focus on social innovation, for example, new ideas, practices that solve social problems better than existing approaches. Important here are cross-border social networks and interactions because the exchange of knowledge, experience, and resources between countries give rise to innovate social practice. This enables the development and dissemination of new solutions to social challenges. In order to reap the benefits such as better networking between young people, professionals, institutions, and communication when it comes to organization, transnational events to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, but also to promote innovation, participation, and empowerment. The post-2030 agenda refers to the perspective, strategies, and measures that go behind the targets set out to the UN SDGs for 2030. In particular, to consider how young people can continue to be involved as actors in sustainable development goals and how long-term intergenerational sustainability can be ensured. The aim is to continue sustainable development goals behind the SDGs target year of 2030. Integrate youth participation, empower and innovate strengths into long-term strategies and established systematic, resilient and transformative structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, speakers. It was really an enlightening session. On the whole, it is very well understood that cultural diversity and hybridity underpin transnational social work in a globalized world when strengthened by intercultural skills, smart networks, digitalization, and data-informed practice. It becomes a powerful driver for attaining SDGs. Generation Z, through youth leadership, digital fluency, and global connectivity, plays a pivotal role in localizing and accelerating SDG achievement, while impact measurement, data ethics, and addressing algorithmic basis ensure that youth-led interventions create meaningful and equitable social impact. So with these rich perspectives, now the session is open for discussion. Dear faculty members, participants, you can raise your questions, queries.
Well, Madam, you presented about the Gen Z and their impact in different cultural, social, political background. Am I right? Now, there is a war migrant from Israel and between Israel and Gaza, between Thailand and China. And there is also in America, what is happening now. So how does a youth in the war migration meet as a Gen Z generation, meet their cultural, social, political, educational demand?
Thank you for the question. It's one of the most important questions because it's a situation in our world. And the only thing we can do is a good education. You have to know, I have one son, he's only go to a school with non-handicapped people. And I have a daughter, she went to school with handicapped people together, inclusion. Yeah? And they have a very different side to the society. For my daughter, it's not a problem to handle with handicapped people. And the same situation we will have in our world. As long as we separate, it doesn't work. And when we started to see that we are one human family, I think that's a very important, that's the most important thing. We are one human society. And there's no one who can put us in two different parties. Then it works. Whenever we are thinking we are better than another culture I talk about our situation in our country. As long as we have this difficult situation, it doesn't work. And because of this, from the beginning on, with the first education, the kindergarten, in primary school, we have to change. And it is not, in my personal opinion, it's not good to wait that our government in Germany change it. It doesn't work. Everyone have to change it. And dear social workers, it belongs to you, to every person who is sitting here, to make it in a better way. Yeah? You meet so many persons when you're working as a social worker. And that's so important. You are such an important thing for peace, for work together and so on. Believe it. Yeah? Think of the person who is the most important person in your way. Not family, other person. And you are such an important person for other persons. Yeah?
One more question. How does the Gen Z generation react to female discrimination?
I think that's many different problems, but it is the same answer. We have also the situation in our country that there is not the same possibility for women. Yeah? But as long as we have this thinking that there's many, that we have a better possibility for our next generation. Also in this topic, it works. It's a barrier in our and the next, in our mind. And the next, I forget it, sorry. Yeah? It's in our heart to work together, yes and no. And we didn't have one resolution for every woman. We have so different situations. My generation in Germany is very free. We are working, we have kids, yeah? And we made it. The next generation, there are also young people, they say, no, it's not my way. Yeah? It has been such a strong way for you, and I see it. It was hard work, and for me, it's not my way. And it is, in my opinion, very important to say we have not only one way for everyone. Sorry, we are in individual society. And because of this, every person decides how it works and if it works. Yeah? And because of this, I'm learning from your society so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah? Thank you very much that I have get so many impressions of your country, and we learned so many things this week.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, speakers. This session reinforces that cross-cultural social work is the bridge between local realities and global responsibilities. With Gen Z at the forefront, this bridge can lead us toward more just, inclusive, and sustainable futures. So I take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to our respected speakers for sharing their valuable insights and inspiring perspectives. And I also thank all the participants for their active presence and engagement. Let us carry forward towards learning and in our own capacities contribute towards building a sustainable, inclusive, and socially just world. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. We thank the guest speakers and the moderator, Dr. M. Sonia, for her efforts to have the discussion focused. Social work is not just a profession, it is a commitment to humanity. I now invite Mr. A. James, Assistant Professor, Department of RDS, to moderate the next technical session. Over to you, sir.
A very pleasant good morning to Reverend Dr. Pushparaj, the former principal, and the faculty members. Once again, warm welcome. I'm happy to introduce the next speaker for the guest lecture, technical session. Dr. Doris, MA, is a lecturer in social work at an Institute of Social Work across life course, Eastern Switzerland University of Applied Sciences, St. Gallen, Switzerland. She earned her PhD in social work from University of Education, Freiburg, Germany. She also holds a master's degree in intercultural social work and conflict management from the Alice Solomon University of Applied Sciences, Berlin, and is a certified social trained worker in Australia. Following initial professional practice in the field of domestic violence, psychiatric and forensic social work, and workplace integration, she pursued an academic career in social work education from 2019 to 2025. She served as a professor of social work at Warburg University of Applied Sciences, Australia, where she also coordinated a master's social work program in intercultural social work. She joined OST in St. Gallen in 2025. Her teaching and research focus on international and intercultural social work, migration, diversity-aware and intersectional approaches, social justice, and participatory teaching methods, with a particular emphasis on casework and counseling. She regularly publishes on issues related to diversity, cultural belonging, and ISM law decisions. She is an active member of several international social work organizations, including European Research Institute for Social Work. With a short introduction, I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Soris for his session. Welcome you, ma'am.
Okay. That works. Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for having us here, having invited us and giving me the possibility to talk to you. I would also like to express my gratitude to everyone around the conference organizing everything so wonderfully for us and giving us this hearty welcome. It is very special to be here. And it's something that we don't do, or I don't do all the time. It's really, really special to be here and be able to talk to you. And again, we've got a light. I've brought you a few examples, and I would really like to focus a little bit. It's not that much time, but I would like to focus on 4 things. I think because you don't know me and you might have lots of questions about where we come from, I also brought a few pictures about myself and a few pictures about the university, so you get a bit of an idea. Then I would like to talk about the challenges, like we heard in the discussion, and the resources of Generation Z, and the role of social work and the according implementation and intervention strategy. The theory base of a lot of my work is diversity and intersectional social work that challenges power. We've heard that before as well. And I've brought you one example from Austria of youth work and what you can actually do as social work, and one example to get this theory down into practice. So a few words about myself. That's better. A few words about myself. When you look at the picture on the left, this is where I live in Bregenz on Lake Constance. It's a really beautiful place. We have a lot of tourism, but it's very small. So when I fly, I have to leave my country and I go to Zurich to take an airplane, because my local area doesn't have an airport. It's a really local, the biggest city, Dornbirn, is 50,000 inhabitants. It's a really small area. I did my bachelor's degree there, and then in the middle, I did my internship in India. But not in the south. You might see from the picture, it's the north of India. I went to Ladakh. I went to study and learn from people in Ladakh. I lived in a farm. It was a farm project. I made butter. I did agricultural work. I learned the language a little bit. I engaged, but I worked with tourists, the tourist educational program, because when tourists travel, they sometimes have questions. How does this work? How does the world work? How can we change it? And the topics were developing a future, thinking about globalization and localization to generate a sustainable world. That was 27 years ago, so a long time ago, the same issue. Why I brought this picture is because for me, as a young person in my early 20s, it changed the course of my whole life, how I see the world, how I see connections, what I find important in life. So learning and exchanging is a huge possibility, but when I think of myself, my work concerns my local area. But my brain, my head, my thinking, my theories, they need to be very globalized, thinking together as a union. And I think I continued that in my professional life. I went on to do my MA in Berlin. So I moved away. I lived away from home. My first son is born in Berlin as well. I did my PhD in the south of Germany, in Freiburg, so quite a lot of movement. And in my teaching career, I also engaged in the European Research Institute for Social Work, and with this ARIS network, I met Monica, I met Sister Hilaria, I met a lot of international colleagues that became friends and made this possible to do research together, to publish together, to do a lot of valuable work together. So you can look at the webpage as well. There's a journal that is published in English twice a year and provides a good possibility to have Scopus viewed publications. And my personal research and teaching focus, I said it already, is international intercultural social work, but I focus mainly and I focus a lot on diversity trainings, awareness, reflection, and anti-discrimination. So I think it's very nice to be able to talk here. Why Switzerland? I work in Switzerland. I taught in Austria for 15 years, then I changed my job and I went to Switzerland. Switzerland is a very, very small country, 9 million inhabitants. It's not part of the EU, it's in the middle of Europe, but as a nation state, it decided not to be part of a union, not to have lots of bilateral agreements, but not to be part of this project that is the union. And when you see This is also a map of Switzerland. There is multiple colors there. Switzerland is a tiny little state, but it has 4 national languages. So it needs to deal with multilingualism on an everyday basis. So all the products, if you go in a shop, are there in 3 languages. That's necessary for every single product to be sold in Switzerland. It has 3 languages on it. And this is a beauty, it's diversity, but at the same time, it's a challenge because some people, like my French is very limited. My Italian is extremely limited. And English is only used as a foreign language. So multilingualism is important, is enriching, but it's also a burden. And young people will have to learn languages. If they don't speak to each other, the communication and the cooperation is difficult, even though it's a small country. And you also see another map. Here, I brought this map to show the borders. The borders are all around in France, Germany, Austria, and Italy. So I live in Austria and I travel where the lake is in the middle, the blue thing, that's the Lake of Constance. I travel over the border every day. It's only 40 minutes, but it's a different national state. So I need to take my passport, and if there is a border control, they can see my passport, check my identity, because it's an international going to a different country every day. The sad thing is I work in Switzerland almost a year now. I never had to show my passport. Why is it sad? The reason it's sad is because if my skin color would be different, I would have to show my passport very often. We sometimes call it ethnic profiling. So the border control is done by visual controls. So everyone who's supposed to not look local, they're controlled. So we have the situation in our region quite a lot. If a refugee with an unsettled status falls asleep in a train and wakes up on the other side of the border, they'll be met by police. And they will not understand why, what have I done? It's just it's a local train. It's not an international train, a local slow train. But the borders are connected. But within Europe, we have more and rising nationalism. At the same time, we have super globalization. So our life has been extremely hybrid, but at the same time, also, we have a strong rise of nationalism, and especially for youth, that's a big topic. Some happy pictures I brought you as well. On the top on the left, you see something really yellow. That's cheese. It's called fondue. That's a national food of Switzerland. And I think from an Indian perspective, it's probably extremely strange. It's a pot that is hot and has melted cheese in. And all you do is you have bread and cheese and bread and cheese and bread and cheese, and there's nothing else. It's just on and on and on. So this is world famous for Switzerland, but it's also a cultural stereotype. Like, Swiss people don't eat that every day. It's impossible. You have it on Christmas, you have it for New Year's celebration, you maybe have it 4 times a year, but there's no way Swiss people would eat that every day. But if you come as tourists, maybe you'll be giving that as a special, so you might get lots of cheese. As Monica said, we have cold winters, lots of snow. My university has 3 campuses. One is the Technical School of Technology, is really close to Zurich. It's on the Lake of Zurich, and I'm on the right in St. Gallen. Our campus is a very modern building. It's got 20 floors. So the bottom of the building is 6 floors of teaching, and in the middle we have this, we call it the tower, where we have the offices. It has a really beautiful library, and as I said when we walked through this campus, studying and library, that's the same the world over. If you want to get knowledge, we need computers, we need writing, but we also need places to meet and exchange, and therefore our university is really happy for international students as well, to further exchange and cooperation. And this is our slogan, make the most of it, Ost is our name. So that's a little bit about me and my place where I come from, why I'm here. If we look at the challenges and resources of Generation Z, I would say they live in a very, very difficult and complicated time. So the summary on the bottom said the Gen Z faces significant challenges. We call it multiple crises. There is war all over the world. There is an increasing cost of living costs. The rent, energy, and health insurance, the prices go up, and we have more people that haven't got good access to health insurance. We have people who struggle to pay for their energy bills. The psychological challenges because of the global crisis. You asked, how does it feel if we wake up and every day we need the news? The psychological pressure on Gen Z is immense, and we know about it, but I think we're all struggling to find the right way to support it. But we know there is big challenges. Work possibilities, I think Monica mentioned as well. Our generation, the generation before, had a different work ethos, working all lifelong at one employer, doing the same thing. The new generation know already that it won't be their life experience. It's all changing, it's diverse, and it's not guaranteed that they will be employed and it will go on for their career. So it's high risk, high insecurity. The same what we notice in social work, there is changes in values and morals. As I said, work-life balance. What kind of life do I want? How do I want to spend my weekends? How many children is a good life? Does it really mean if I have more than 2 children that I will be a strange family? What happens if lots of people have no children? What happens if everyone lives in single flats? It's diverse, but it's for the identity, the values and morals, it becomes extremely complicated. So that's individualized, but youth is connected to the global world. And connected to the global world means that every day on TikTok, they see other realities. They see influencers, they see models. So they question very often their own identity in accordance to how am I looking, what do I see, am I the same? You know, like people love singing and dancing, but if you see professional singing and dancing all the time, maybe you start questioning, am I good enough? Can I do it? Shall I even try? Austria is really famous for musical instruments, but music is a wonderful metaphor. Nobody starts a musical instrument being a genius. Even a genius does lots and lots of practice. It's hours and hours of getting it wrong. You need to fail multiple times, but people with musical interest, they succeed and they learn. But it takes a lot of courage to succeed and learn. So to summarize, multiple challenges, but also the power to shape the future, because they are the future. So there's both sides of the medal. And when we look at the role of social work, I think we are called upon to deliver holistic support system. And holistic means to cover multiple areas, not too much specialization. We need to cater for material needs as well as psychological as well as social needs. Mental health accessibility is a big thing. Mental health supports need to be done in schools, at workplace, in the community area. We need far more mental health, I would say preventative counseling options to stay healthy and promote well-being and focus on positive understanding of health amongst youth. Another thing that we've learned very much over the last 20 years, we know that these transitions, when you go from one phase to the next phase of the life, these transitions are very vulnerable phases. And if people don't have a successful transition, it often takes much more support afterwards to be included in society. So we need to focus on transitions like finding the first work, getting into university. We need to focus that these early phases work well. It also with family, that when the first child is born, that the families are supported to find their ways to make the transition from being a family without a child, and then the first child to to be able to move on and learn from the experience and become more resilient. And digital well-being, the same. The skills also need to be critically reflective, but also be resilient. And resilient might sometimes mean to turn the phone off and not to digitalize, not to detox, they call it a lot at the moment. So just a few words on diversity, why we focus on diversity and what we mean. When we mean diversity, we don't mean different in the theory. We mean the positive use of diversity, because we are extremely aware that diversity is difference is created and often used to disempower and oppress people. And therefore, when we talk about diversity-orientated social work, we need to take the model as a resource to stop discrimination, to create recognition, respect, and inclusion. Very often this model, you might know it, is used where the human beings are seen as their inner core personality, but people are also defined by different category, diversity category, like age, gender, ethnicity, nationality, but also religion. And these categories play a huge role. They might be a very positive resource, but they're also extremely easily linked to discrimination. That's why we need to focus on diversity. And you might have seen this picture. I don't know if is it visible? No, it's not really visible. I can show you like this. Maybe, is it visible? On the first, equality, everyone stands on the same level. It's a nice idea, but for the very small person, it's not very helpful. Equity, we build staircases and we try and lift, we try and remove barriers, but to have everyone enjoy equally and have a right-based approach, we need to be really, really critical at the barriers. We need to look what is in the way, and we find structural equity. So it's a different way of thinking and a very important one, I think, in social work. Why are we doing it? Larissa told us the philosophy. I think the ethical case and the social justice case is the most strongest. Why we need to work for diversity, but we also have a professional. Otherwise it wouldn't be professional if we wouldn't work that way. Luckily, we have a legal way, and I think the legal is very important, because especially human rights legislation give us the purpose. We have to work human rights effectively. We need to look. The national law forbids discrimination. Therefore, we have to have measures to make it better. We all know that discrimination is all over the place, but because we have a legal case, we can actually take action and make it better. And the top is the most famous, the business case. If everyone's included, if everyone can participate, Monica said it's a human family. It's also the most cost-effective, of course. It produces happiness, it produces well-being, and this is what we as a humanity should strive for. So it makes sense to implement diversity strategies. In social work, we focus a lot on intersectionality, and intersectionality basically looks at the intersection of these social positionings. So where do they intersect? Is it different if I'm an older elderly woman or a Gen Z? And yes, Monica showed really well, youth is not participating in the same way than the adult population. So if you're below 25, very often you're not asked, you're not included, you haven't got the same. So the intersection between age and gender and, for example, your educational background is a really important place to look at and see and ask questions of inclusion. So I often start with the picture on the right. It's Sojourner Truth. We go back to the 1797. That's when she delivered a really famous oh no, that was wrong. She delivered the really famous speech, Ain't I a Woman, in 1851, and it was about, it was well before the civil rights movement, when it concerns the abolition of slavery. Her life story is extremely interesting to read, but basically when the anti-slavery movement came in, it was a very clear question that for slaves, women's rights were not there. So hard laboring was not, that was their reality. So in her really famous speech, Ain't I a Woman, she asked, am I not part of that? Because the women's movement were fighting, but it was a middle-class women's movement. It wasn't the working class, and they didn't look at slavery rights. So we have very old documents and then newer documents looking at the intersection of power and how to do social movements as well and fight for more justice. So I focus a lot on the so-called ism, racism, classism, sexism, bodyism, and I find it very important to look what differentiates people and to analyze power on a structural level. I jump over this, and this is my last slide on the diversity dilemma, and then I show you the practice example. I think within the area of diversity, we always have the two ways. We construct difference by naming it, but we have to deconstruct the difference because we want to avoid discrimination and stereotyping. And we can't do just one. We have to balance the two, but both have a danger. If we construct difference, if we make it bigger, we reaffirm the static assumption. And if we deconstruct difference, say we're all the same, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, it is not true, because females in our country suffer a lot of discrimination. So if we don't see the category, we cannot strive to make it better. But at the same time, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, we need to deconstruct. So this dance between the two, our students and our social workers have to do all the time. And that also means there is no one solution to make it correct, but maybe the practice links us to be more reflective, more understanding, and more politically interested, I also think. So I show you the example that I promised, and then I will finish. This is a youth center in Austria, close to where I live. And they do very typical youth center activities, like they offer musical, they have a bands room, they have cultural events, they have sport and leisure time events, and they do projects and a lot of prevention projects. Like, for example, they do workshops like Know Your Rights, where young people, they know about the criminal justice system, so they know if they break the law, what will be the procedures, what will happen, what's the dangers. We call it that they learn to take risks, at the same time to know it's informed risk-taking. So they can have spaces to try out things, but they also know the consequences. And a lot of these youth centers are full with disempowered youth, but some youth centers, it's a good structure that everyone from the village meets in the youth center. And we now call it child and youth centers because children go there as well. And we notice that if the families have less resources, the youth centers, they provide these resources. And there is a lot of political work done in the youth centers, so they learn about democracy, they have councils, they decide on a program. So if the youth center would say, on the Sunday, we go and visit a place, the young people have to decide which place. They have to decide how to get there. They have to decide what food to make. So they learn the skills for later on in an adequate way according to their age. So youth centers are a big ground of trying to find out these issues. And to go a little bit deeper on my project, there was this play on words, which in German says racism doesn't have to be there. It was a youth project work, and it lasted for about 6 months. and there was a team of about 20 people, social workers, young people, but also different people from the local regions. And they wanted to talk about racism and read about racism, learn about racism, but also biographical, talk about their everyday experiences. So they decided to make a video project so that they would learn video cutting, filming, tone. So all the digital competences were taught in the project. And at the end, they produced a video which lasts about 10 minutes, but I can give the slides on and you can watch it. It's on YouTube. It has English subtitles. And the first 5 minutes are young people from my region, all black people, talking about their everyday experiences of racism, which normally they don't talk about. And the Austrian society would like to say we're all equal, there is no racism. But when you listen to the young people and listen carefully, it's so painful what they experience from a young age, in kindergarten, in school, every day in public transport, and they talk about it, and it's quite emotional. And then the second half of the film is like the white society, the rural people, how they react when they hurt the young people. And it's a really emotional thing because most of the white people react in a very human way. They're touched, they think they didn't see, they weren't aware, and there's an older person who says, I really think from tomorrow, if I experience this again, I will be an ally, I will do something. I know now, I've learned. So the video is a really good example of youth work, diversity-oriented youth work, where they do a project, and the result is there to have a small change, but it's a really good example on how we can work together and how maybe the future, with said, how they show how the change of the world is possible to the better. So thank you very much. There's literature and links as well on the presentation, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, madam, for sharing your experience and explaining the challenges, resource of Gen Z, role of social work addressing Gen Z needs, and then in a conclusion, diversity-oriented approaches are not optional add-ons but core professional and ethical principle in open child and youth work with the Gen Z by integrating intersectionality, participation, and social justice into practice. With this, I request the audience to go for any clarification with madam. You are most welcome to clarify any questions.
Madam, what is the difference between an European youth and an Asian youth who are in the Gen Z generation?
If I will give you a diversity-oriented answer, it very much depends whether they live in the altitude of 2,000 meters high in a mountain village or if they live in a big city. If they were born into a very rich family or a very poor family. So the youth of Europe is extremely diverse, and their realities differ massively depending on all these like social categories, because I believe they work as social positioning, and so the starting position from people is very diverse, very different. And you ask, like, we call them unaccompanied minors, if refugees come and they're underage, they arrive in Europe without the parents, they are extremely marginalized. They find it extremely difficult to make their path. But we have the first master and also PhD students that come from that population. So there is a possibility to move, to enter university, to make your way, but we also have extremely sad stories of people suffering trauma, having psychiatric illnesses, and finding it impossible to sleep at night. So we have the same, we have a very vulnerable group of refugees that are not able to work because they're not healthy, they're not well, they're not happy, they're not stable. And so we have that group as well. And we also have a group that is extremely successful at the same time. So it's very diverse and difficult to answer in short.
My another question is that the Gen Z generations are able to focus their attention only for 3 minutes to study. Their concentration is limited to 3 minutes. Now, this generation is here.
Listening for
So,
a very long time.
Yeah, I'm bringing the concrete issue today. Okay, so what are your suggestions to make this generation to focus from 3 minutes to 30 minutes?
Thank you so much for the question. I have two answers. I have two sons. They're both students. They're 20 and 22 years old. And they teach me sometimes. Because I say, why can you not concentrate? Same thing. And my younger son, he's a gamer. He loves playing game. And he says, I'm doing it at the same time. So I'm playing a game, but I'm also listening to a podcast, political podcast. He's really interested in philosophy. But he does it while shooting people in a game. So for me, it's impossible to understand. But for him, he thinks he can do both things at the same time. And second story, my oldest son, he says, your parents' generation, you're always on the phone. You're so slow. You can't press the buttons. Put these phones away and stay here. So I think, the younger ones are telling me I'm using it too often. So it's both ways. I think we learn from each other, and we have to find solutions together. And my son said we make a mobile phone tower. So if they want to have a good party, all the mobile phones are on the table in a tower. Nobody's allowed their phones, because then they know no photos and so they have a good time. So maybe that's the future. I don't know. Thank you. Is that good?
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. My name's Firsting George Lingdor from the Department of Philosophy. You have very well spoken about the Gen Z generation. In this Gen Z society, what are the ethical responsibilities of youths in building a fair society?
It's a good question as well. I really hope that the young generation doesn't feel the burden to sort it out what the older generation has done wrong. So that would be very unfair. I think we should all move forward. And you know, Monica, she mentioned Fridays for Future. And Friday for Future was a youth movement. And after a while, there was Grandparents for Future, also of an organization. And they stood behind the children, because they said it's not only the burden of the young people to change the future. The old people need to support them. They need to be there. They need to be active. The scientists joined, and they said, we've got all the studies. We are there. You're not naive. You're good. Go on with your purpose. So I think it needs to be all a generation. I think the young people cannot sort it out on their own. So,
good morning, ma'am. I am Brian Fernando. I'm also from the Department of Philosophy. My question for you is Gen Z's sense of social responsibility truly rooted in rational moral duty, or is it shaped more by cultural narratives and social pressure?
Thank you very much. I think both emotions you mentioned, shame and emotional, what was the second? Shame and? Sorry?
Is it shaped by...
Shaved.
Shaped.
Shaped. Okay, shaped.
Is it shaped by more cultural narratives or by social pressure?
Okay, cultural narratives and social pressure. You see, I think as a person, I'm quite a holistic thinker. I think these emotions, they reinforce. I also thought you said shame, because I think shame is an emotion that is really strong. It's a total taboo, but it shapes people's behavior. And so I would say the holistic, to recognize emotions is extremely important for young people and for change. Thank you.
Hi, ma'am. I have a question. As we know, promoting gender equality is the main agenda for most of the countries because everywhere inequalities exist in a different ways. So my question is, from your perspective, do you think Gen Z is redefining gender equality or merely rebranding older inequalities?
Thank you for the question. This is such a good and really complicated question because I do gender trainings as well, and my young female students, they come and say we're equal, we're the same, it's the same. And when they open up and we talk about discrimination and upbringing, norms, ethics, family, rituals, like more and more they open up to the area, and it's a hurtful process because not to be the same, not to be equal is painful because you're oppressed, and they want to be strong. But I think if the reflection opens, they realize that there is so much discrimination, and yes, it's better, but it's moving so slowly. Some areas are real slow movers, and in some ways we have a huge backlash, and also, like you heard about the trad wives, we have that in our area as well. Like there is backlashes, and I think it's not a linear way to liberation. So I don't think you can say this is better, and the next they will have a wonderful world. I think it's an individual struggle, and there is a lot. It's power and distribution. So oppression of women is a global theme, and in Switzerland it is very difficult to see because it's well hidden, but if you know the figures and if you know the areas, it's quite a strong discrimination. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Just introduce.
Once again, good morning, ma'am. I am also, my name is Jeffrey. I am also from the Department of Philosophy. When we speak about the Gen Z generation, we have always witnessed in our society that there has always been a conflict between the younger generation, that is Gen Z, and the older generation. So the older generation would say that the new ways of the Gen Z, whatever they do, they say that, oh, your ways are not good, your ways are bad. And the Gen Z generation would say to the older generations, you are always stuck in the old generations, your own ways. You never accept our own ways. So my question is, what can be the medium to bring harmony between these two conflicts?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for this question. I think it's a very good, I think it's like with prejudice, groups play with each other. So by putting someone down, you feel better yourself. So if elderly people say youth today are no good, well, that's a sentence that we can find in history from very early on. It's to make the groups different. And so I think sometimes it's not really truth, it's the perspective. And sometimes I also think it's the other way around. And that's what I said before. I think sometimes young people can really teach the older generation. And I think, like, for example, in education, in teaching, it used to be extremely hierarchical with lots of punishment, lots of power, not much inquiry, not many questions allowed. And I think that universities are still quite hierarchical, but critical thinking, innovation, reflection is allowed. It's supported. So I think change is extremely good, but we need to learn. And yesterday we were at a conference, and there was a speaker from the UK, and she talked about intergenerational relations, and she said that methods to basically increase cooperation and relationship could be like, for example, cooking together, knitting together, having places where people work, and at the same time, like, for example, if I would find young students, social work students, and refugee women, and I do handicrafts with them. It's very likely that my young students, they don't really know the handicrafts, but most refugee women will have skills in handicraft, some type, so that they can teach them and can show them. And there is, by doing things, you also then talk about, you know, my grandmother, my children, is storytelling. So the exchange very often is with relationship building, I believe. And to build relationship between the generations, you need to have rooms where it can happen that allows relationship building. So I'm a strong believer of these rooms to do something practical, like the youth work. So they could open up, and they do sometimes, to do something with elderly people. Or I've got one more example that I really liked. I was in Plymouth with my students in the UK, and we went to a refugee project, and very often refugees are housed in very bad accommodation, lots of people, not much space. So the NGO said, why not go hiking? So they organized local people and refugees together to go into the nature. They took the ferry to go on an island, and there's huge space. And, you know, everyone brought food, so they ate together in big fields. And it was very clever, because hiking is a very traditional and a rural thing, or walking and using the nature. And the kids could play. Loudness is not a problem. And in the accommodation, to be loud is a big problem. All the neighbors complain. But there in the area, and so slowly the refugees knew how to buy a ticket, how to go to these really beautiful places and have this wonderful nature. But before, they were very much in their houses, and there was a lot of social conflict in the housing. And those hiking trails, walking hours, I thought that were very good. And it's intergenerational as well. You walk, you talk. And while talking, or you sit and you eat the food, you share the food. And so we get to know each other. And that was a very wonderful project for that as well. Thank you.
Once again, ma'am, I have one more question. In this Gen Z society, the advancement of technology and artificial intelligence. So my question is, how will you describe a day without technology?
Lost day, difficult. I wouldn't know where I am, no Google Maps, no. So I would be lost, but also quite beautiful. You know, maybe I would go to bed and I wouldn't read international, so maybe it's a happy day. Maybe. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
With this, thank you, madam, for explaining all the questions. And it is the responsibility of Gen Z to create a fair society. Let us join together and give them a round of applause for a spectacular session. Thank you so much, madam. Over to the MC.
We also thank the moderator, Mr. A. James, for the smooth conduct of the session. I now invite Ms. M. Virgin Orokemeri, Vice Principal, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning to one and all. Respected fathers, distinguished speakers, esteemed delegates, and dear colleagues. As we come to the end of this technical session, it is my proud privilege to propose vote of thanks. First and foremost, I extend my sincere thanks to the management for arranging this 3-day international conference. I sincerely thank our principal, Reverend Dr. Basil Xavier, for facilitating the gathering. Thank you, Father. I am happy to thank Reverend Dr. Pushparaj, former principal, for his continuous support and guidance. Thank you, Father. I would like to express my thanks to Reverend Dr. J. Bhaskaran, Vice Principal, for a nice welcome address. Thank you, Father. We extend our sincere appreciation to Dr. Monica Pfaffler, Roth, Faculty of Social Work, Catholic University, Egerstedt, Ignolised, Germany, and Ms. Larissa Natali, research scholar, for an excellent presentation on cross-cultural youth in smart social work, achieving worldwide SDGs. It emphasizes the importance of inclusion and adaptability in contemporary practices. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to the second presenter, Dr. Doris Bowler, University Lecturer for Social Work, Institute of Social Work in Life Course, OST, St. Gallen, Switzerland, for a clear and encouraging presentation on Gen Z and social work diversity-oriented approaches in open child and youth work. The insights shared and practical perspectives provided stimulated valuable discussion and reflection among the participants. Thank you, ma'am. I sincerely thank the moderators, Dr. M. Sonia, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, and Mr. James, Assistant Professor, Department of RDS, for effectively conducting the session and ensuring smooth and meaningful discussions. Thank you, sir. I would like to acknowledge the active participation of the delegates and audience members. Your thoughtful questions and interactions made this session engaging and intellectually rewarding. Thank you, one and all. Thanks. Once again, I thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of gratitude. We now break for tea.